The Thrower Troop, released only a month ago, and it's already struggling to find its spot inside of Clash of Clans. With its slow attacks, clunky mechanics, and a name as creative as a brick. Today, we're breaking down why this purple Cyclops is the most disappointing troop Supercell has ever released, and what Supercell can do to fix it. But yeah, enjoy the video. And let's start off before the Thrower Troop was in the game. A little under 2 months ago, but at this time, everybody was watching all the sneak peeks, talking about Town Hall 17, all the changes that it would bring. And surprisingly, with all the sneak peeks, nobody cared about the Thrower Troop, and it seemed to fly under the radar, as the hype for it was extremely low. I mean, come on guys, it looks like a revamped bowler that attacks slower, and it has more housing space. But as the week went on, and Town Hall 17 finally came out, a whole bunch of new content flooded the game, and the Thrower Troop was one of the things that was covered in almost every YouTuber's video. And at the time, I don't think anybody was willing to say anything bad about it, but I have a platform and a voice, so yeah. I have been scouring through hundreds of Reddit comments talking about this Thrower Troop, and I can conclude that there are many reasons why this thing doesn't fit within the game, and we're gonna get into that very shortly. But yeah, all these YouTubers make a whole bunch of videos on the Thrower Troop, all the YouTubers glazing it very heavily, and Supercell didn't receive that big of a blow for adding the Thrower Troop. A lot of people thought it was pretty cool. Nobody really cared about it though. Nobody really asked for this troop. And the community already had a bigger fish to fry. Being the Town Hall 17 weapon, merging the Town Hall and becoming weaker than ever. So again, the Thrower Troop being disappointing was the least of everybody's worries at the time. But now that everything has settled, I think it's finally fair to talk about this and express my opinions about the recent update. And I'm going to start off by talking about the Thrower's strong versus weak points. And in all honesty, it doesn't really have that many strong points. The only strong point being, it has range, and that's pretty much it. His name is literally Thrower. Along with this, he can fit well behind ground tanks, like Electro Titans and Root Riders, but from what I've seen, this troop doesn't have much synergy, and doesn't do enough damage or have enough health points to be viable in a meta army attack. But moving on to the downsides, I think I briefly did a little sneak peek. They don't do enough health points and damage, one of the biggest downsides of them, along with their housing space being 16, which is fairly high when you compare it to something like a Root Rider, in which you get 4 times the health points, can break walls. Meanwhile, Thrower just doesn't have the health point, damage per second, or mobility to get around the base. And I am aware that Thrower has its place in certain armies, mainly ones that utilize Life Gem, Rage Gem on the Warden, such as Ground Smash, like Root Riders, Electro Titan, Yetis, and Valkyries. All of these troops benefit heavily from the Rage Gem, Life Gem combo. But if we're being 100% real, that is very specific cases of using the Thrower Troop, and the Thrower just doesn't keep up with its competition. It's just overall a very mediocre and lackluster troop, and I feel like Supercell could have done a lot better of a job with a troop like this. It's hard to balance and hard to keep it good at the same time, simply just due to the amount of range that this thing has. It's basically a rocket spear. They are just too squishy for everyone's liking, which makes it feel kind of out of place in Clash of Clans. And in recent years, Clash of Clans hasn't been feeling like this medieval game that it was made out to be, adding lots of futuristic stuff, which is okay. I mean, I personally prefer the old style of art and all that, you know, gameplay. And I know some people in the comments are gonna be like, I 3-star with them all the time. Anybody can 3-star nowadays, okay? I've spoken on this exact same point many times in the past, but the actual army itself in an attack isn't as important as it used to be. I say this every video. It is now possible to 3-star with just your heroes, spells, and your CC. I'm sure you guys have seen it at pro level or maybe even in one of your CWLs. Some people are able to pull off a 3-star without using their army at all. So that argument immediately can be counter-inspected and can be concluded that heroes are just too OP. So sure, you can 3-star with throwers, but if you put thought into your attacks, you can 3-star with just your heroes. So it's not the individual strength of the throwers, it's just your strategizing, guys. I'm not gonna lie. And also, I want to point out that I have used the Thrower Troop firsthand. I'm sure some of you guys are gonna be like, have you even used them? Yes, I have. I've tested them out multiple times. They do a fair bit of DPS, but they die very quickly if you're not able to back them up. And now let's get into my personal experiences and ones that others have had with this troop and just the community's ideas on it as a whole. And as I said prior, I scoured hundreds of Reddit comments on this exact topic. I can pop up a few on screen, but this guy says, lazy design, lazy name, average troop. And then right below it, he attacks too slow. Not worth using other troops with his housing space. Hull healers as well. The only good strategy is thrower smash, which in my opinion is weaker than super witch smash. And yes, I'm aware that all these things are opinions, but when a lot of the entire comment section is people just pooping on it, I feel the need to make a video like this, you know? Because there's a lot of room to talk about it, and you guys can share yours in the comments. And moving on to the counter argument, this guy says, I really like them, but my god, is funneling them a pain because their longer range makes them harder to funnel for. And yes, I agree with this entirely. When I was using them, it was so impossible to funnel them because of how long the range is, and they'll just go for outer buildings the entire time. And he also brings up a good point about how skeleton traps waste so much time because of how slow the thrower troop attacks. And again, you can just bring electro titans to counteract that. And he says, other than those two, they're an amazing troop. I can agree with it, but it sounds like this guy is forcing himself to like them. I'm gonna just scroll through the rest really quickly, give you guys a glance. Probably 70 to 80% of this is people not liking it. So while this topic is a little controversial, I felt the need to make a video on it and stir the mixing pot. And now let's move back to my personal opinions. I feel like the thrower troop doesn't attack as fast as it should. If you watch one individually, it takes him a while to lob that spear. And along with that, his mechanics are extremely clunky with the range and funneling issues. I feel like he's just extremely average, as said by most of the player base. And I'm just asking myself, why would they add them? And to be honest, I couldn't even give you a straight up answer to that. I don't think this troop has its place. And if there's one thing I learned as a YouTuber, if you don't put your 100% into something, you shouldn't release it and publish it as a video. That's the way I kind of feel what they did with this Clash of Clans troop. It seemed to be rushed out without much effort put into it. Just by looking at the name, its name is Thrower, guys. It's a literal adverb. And again, it just feels a little rushed. I don't think they put out that much effort. And similar to my YouTube channel, if I put out a video that I don't spend a lot of time on, it's not going to get views and be watched and enjoyed by my fans. Same thing is happening with this troop inside of Clash of Clans. So let's get into what Supercell can do to try and fix this problem of a mediocre troop. Number one being potential defense targeting, because right now they attack absolutely anything, and I feel like a troop like the Thrower needs defense targeting to be viable, especially because of how easy they stack up on a bunch of random outside buildings. I just feel like defense targeting would fix this troop entirely, quite frankly. Would make funneling a whole lot easier, especially when you can combine it with invisibility spells and funnel them into the center. You can get really creative with stuff like that, just like the RC. But next up, I feel like they could just buff the hit points as a whole. This troop would be better off with higher hit points and a lower damage per second, because come on guys, it has 1.8 thousand health. It has less health than a giant, guys, and it has 16 housing space. Obviously the giant doesn't have as much long range utility, but get this, the giant has half the DPS. Half! And it's only 5 housing space. By simple comparison, a troop that is 5 housing space should not have more health points than one that is 16. And that's why I feel like these things need a huge health point buff. Like, it has to be massive. And to balance it out, they might have to up the housing space on it. But at this point, I feel like it is necessary and warranted. Maybe accompanied by an increase to housing space if they so choose. So I feel like a change like that might bring it into some more meta attacks. Moving on to the final thing that they could do to fix it. Delete it entirely. I'm not joking. And while the odds of this one happening is extremely improbable, because I don't think they've ever put a troop in the game and then unreleased it and taken it out. But everybody in the comments, let me know what you think about the Thrower troop. Also, big thanks to everybody for subscribing. We are almost at 6,000. So thank you everybody for that. Bye bye.